Well, DJ Lagway has made it official. He has committed to the University of Baylor and rebuffed the University of Virginia. But just when it looked like tragedy was striking in Charlottesville, they may have found a way to climb out of the hole. Hello everybody and welcome back to ACC Uprising. My name is Grant Mitchell and we got a lot to talk about. If you are a fan of UVA, a fan of ACC football, you're trying to find out the latest transfer news, we got all of that stuff coming up in this video. So, your job, make sure that you take the 2 seconds out of your day, hit that like button, and as we go through this, jump down to the comment section, let me know your thoughts on everything that I'm going to present to you in this video today. Appreciate you all being here, rocking out with me here on ACC Uprising, and let's not wait any longer. Let's jump into the news. So the headline here is DJ Lagway has committed to Baylor, meaning that UVA, along with several other teams, are officially out of the running for the former 5-star plus recruit out of high school. So, Lagway, a rising junior, we all know him from the University of Florida. Lagway visited UVA on Monday. He had also spoken to Florida State, LSU, Miami, and of course, Baylor were rumored to be in the running to acquire his services. Now, Lagway's father played at Baylor. He was a running back there from 1997 to 2001, ran for 711 yards and 6 touchdowns in his career. So ultimately, it doesn't come as a surprise that he would end up there. He's from Texas. His father went to school there. We know the money that they've got in Texas. Everybody's got money down there. Not that other schools with money weren't also in the race, but this just makes sense at the end of the day. Now, Lagway's stats last year were very, very underwhelming when you consider the potential that he flashed as a freshman again down there in Gainesville at Florida. Last season, only completed 63.2% of his passes for 2,264 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. A near 1-to-1 turnover to intercept or touchdown to interception rate is quite horrible, to be completely honest with you. Again, this is after a promising freshman season where he teamed up with Billy Napier. They won some big games. They beat LSU. They beat Ole Miss. And ultimately, it does not just come into fruition for the Cavaliers, who are still scraping to find their quarterback. But again, we got a spoiler on how they might be getting out of that hole coming up later in this video, so make sure you stick around. Now, I'll start by saying this. UVA has every right to be angry. The fans specifically, they have every right to be upset with how this process has played out. Because Chandler Morris, with his cloudy future hanging over their heads, they can't exactly go full steam ahead on every quarterback in the portal. UVA has asked for a 7th year since, they've been asking for one since October. Morris submitted paperwork a little bit after the middle of December, but they still don't have an answer to that situation. They don't know if he's going to be granted the 7th year of eligibility, so they just don't know. That's the headline. UVA doesn't know. A portal quarterback doesn't know what situation they're walking into. If Morris is granted the 7th year, but UVA signs a player out of the portal, they don't want to just tell Morris to kick rocks, we're done with you, considering what he just did for them, helped lead them to an 11-win season, a conference championship game appearance. UVA definitely doesn't want to waste their NIL funds where they don't have to. They don't want to go out offering massive amounts of money in the case of DJ Lagway, who absolutely would request that, demand it even. They don't want to be put in that position where they're committing tons of money, not knowing if the quarterback they just had, who they were very successful with, is coming back to them or not. So fans have every right to be frustrated. If you have any thoughts on that, make sure you do throw them down in the comment section below. Now, as I mentioned, UVA is coming off of an 11-3 season, most wins in program history, a win in the Gator Bowl over Missouri. You cannot have written it up much better. Going back to the beginning of the season, the most optimistic UVA fans probably would not have reasonably said that was the season that was in store for them, but lo and behold, it was. Now, with Lagway transferring to Baylor, and with the Chandler Morris situation being murky at best, there is a growing issue at quarterback. Daniel Kaelin was the backup, but he's now in the portal as well. Colin Jeer seems to be the next man in line. He appeared in 2 games last year. One was just to kneel the ball out. The other, we went 2 for 2 for 8 yards with 2 carries for 15 yards against William & Mary. He was the 72nd quarterback in his recruiting class and the number 5 player in Massachusetts back in 2025. Look, he got a good opportunity to sit and learn as a true freshman, but it's still a very short turnaround for a team that was in the conference championship game less than a month ago when I'm recording this video, and a team that wants to get back there. Now, progress isn't always linear, right? If you don't always go from 3 wins to 8 wins to 10 wins to 11 to 12 to 13 to a national championship. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes you go 5 to 11 to 6 to 9 to 4 to 8 to 12 to 13. So sometimes things like that happen. You know, it takes time to build success. But I would say on Lagway, before we pivot to how UVA might be recovering from this situation, on Lagway, this whole situation is still a win for them. Even though they did not ultimately land him, and let's be honest, are you positive that you want DJ Lagway right now? Just going to throw that out there. But this whole situation is a win for UVA. 1 year ago, saying DJ Lagway would have visited the University of Virginia would have been unfathomable. You never would have put that thought out there. Now you can say that and go, yeah, that makes sense. I get why that happened. This also shows how short-term and cyclical college football is becoming, but it's still a win for Virginia. They're getting their names in with the big recruits, the big transfers, and they're in the mix, and they weren't before. So that's something that you can say about them. Now, with me saying all of this, there is a growing rumor. Now, I want to emphasize this. This is just a rumor. I do not have tangible reports or evidence to bring to you, but they say where there's smoke, there's a fire. And I don't know if I'm looking back and I'm seeing smoke up over the tree line, but I smell something in the air. You know what I mean? You ever out driving your car and you just stop and you turn around and you think, oh, I can tell someone's cooking barbecue. You get that smell, or someone's having a campfire, a bonfire. We're approaching those territories right now. So don't quote me on this, UVA fans. I'm not promising you this, but I'm not gonna qualify it anymore. I'm just gonna tell you what it is. Pop Watson. You know him from Virginia Tech. There are rumors that the Chandler Morris situation, the DJ Lagway failed transfer, they're moot points now. Pop Watson is allegedly a name to watch for the University of Virginia. Now, he was very limited in action in his time at Virginia Tech. His best game was actually against the University of Virginia. So, Cavalier fans, you should know this guy pretty well. He led a 37-17 win against UVA in 2024, finished 14 of 21 for 254 yards and a touchdown to go with 11 carries for 48 yards and a rushing touchdown. So for an underclassman who wasn't really getting game time to get onto the field, go for 300 total yards, 2 touchdowns, that's pretty impressive. And if you give him an offseason, tell him he's the guy, you're going to work and treat him like he is the guy, he's going to get out on the field, a team that's confident, has just tasted winning, and they want some more of it, that could end up being a good situation. Now, UVA's projected win total, according to FanDuel next year, and this is not sports betting advice, don't get me wrong, but just for the sake of information, the projected win total is set at only 5.5 wins. That's a far cry from the 11-win season they just had. Getting Morris back would be a huge help, although there's no guarantee they're going to get him for his 7th year. Is Pop Watson a viable alternative? That's the big question of this video. And if you answer anything here in the comment section below, scroll on down, get your keyboards out. I want you to tell me, do you think that Pop Watson could be and should be and would be the man to get the Cavaliers back into the upper ranks of the ACC, just like they were in this past season? That is the question that I'm interested to know your thoughts on. So before you guys click on out of here, make sure that you do hit the like button one final time. Subscribe if you are new around here. This is called ACC Uprising because myself and Robert Irby, we are posting content all about the ACC. So whether you're a fan of Duke or Wake Forest or Syracuse or Clemson, it doesn't matter. We're covering everybody. So make sure that you subscribe for the latest news, analysis, reactions, and all that great stuff. I'm going to head on out of here, but I appreciate you all joining me and rocking out on ACC Uprising.